teacher, because each semester, there'll be evaluations of you by your peers, by the chair of the department, and also by students.
Right. I was thinking maybe students have to say something about it.
Yeah,
right?
they definitely.
Even they didn't
have
like it.
something to say. Yeah, they're very frank with that. Very straightforward about the teaching, and so that's one area that you need to perform well. The other is scholarship, which is like publications, books, articles, and also going to conferences, give talks and so on, or something more creative like making a movie or something, depending on your profession, as to what is required of you. And thirdly, in terms of evaluating your performance, would be your services in the areas of your profession, like professional organizations, your contributions to that, or community services, like organizations outside, and also university services, like committees that you serve, and so on. So basically, within the 6 years,
it sounds like a lot of work.
A lot of things, particularly because you're a new teacher, right? So you have to prepare the lectures and so on. So for the first 6 years, it's just a lot of work.
It sounds like really a really hard climb to go up there, because you have to do a lot of articles, publish them,
books,
conferences,
and different courses that you prepare lectures. And
community services. That's a part of being a professor. I didn't know that.
It will become towards the evaluation process. And of course, committees and outside professional organizations too. So all these will become towards the final outcome. That's the tenure. Tenure is that once you get that, the university will hire you for the rest of your life.
Right.
That means job security. But if you don't pass it, then you have to leave the university.
Okay.
And you have to look for jobs somewhere else.
Oh, I gotcha.
And
with assistant professor title, that you still have to go look for a job because you're not a full professor.
Yeah, that's assistant professor before you get tenure.
Okay.
And getting tenure is the big thing for any teaching professionals. And it's not easy to get that too. For example, in my university, about of all the applicants, about 1/3 of them can get that. So it's a very strict process because they want to make sure, since they will be hiring you for the rest of your life, so they want to make sure you're the right person
with the qualifications
for the university. Yeah. So once you get that tenure thing, you'll be promoted to associate professor.
Okay.
And then you have to repeat the same thing again. For the evaluation process in order to be promoted to full professor.
Another 6 years or just?
Well, that has no time limit.
There's no time limit.
That you have, because you already have the tenure, right? So you have to prove that you are a top scholar.
That you are good with what you do here.
Yeah, for associate professor to full professor, it's more like the scholarship.
Okay.
Recognized by your professionals outside, by the world.
Okay.
So full professor is the highest.
The highest
rank.
Rank. Okay. And it's highest really hard to achieve though.
And that's the most difficult.
Most difficult.
Because you have to be evaluated by world scholars in order to be a full professor.
Speaking of that, you got that at a relatively young age. Not many that got that one, right? It was very young, at the earlier 40s.
I was 41 when I got full professor. I was lucky in a way, but then I worked very, very hard.
Very hard, yeah, I'm sure.
In order to achieve that. Yes.
Right, a lot of work. And also you published so many books and they got national recognition, world recognition. Of one of the many books you had was you published was called A Historical Dictionary of Revolutionary China, which won the choice, the outstanding academic book of 1992. Maybe you can share some of those stories in the books and what it's all about
This
to our
book,
viewers.
this book is a pretty thick book in the sense that it contains a lot of information of modern China, in terms of personalities, in terms of organizations, the different revolutions, the different wars of China, and the changes in the modern times. It also has a very detailed chronology and a long bibliography with course references as well. So it's a very, very useful reference book, not just for researchers, but also for students if they want to look for information about modern China. So that's a very handy, very useful tool for them to use.
When the book, when you got to know that you won the Choice Award, how did you react? It was such a big accomplishment, right?
I was happy about that because I worked so hard on it. You know. Yes.
And so that book basically tells us it's about a modern China and the details about that, and very thick book, right? For us to read.
It's a big volume. Yes.
We still can find them in store or order from.
Yes. You can order that from Amazon.com.
Amazon.com. Okay.
You go to Amazon.com. You input my name and you come out a number of books.
I did search that.
One of that is the book that you just mentioned, Historical Dictionary of the Chinese Revolution.
Well, speaking of the modern China, with the Western Asian knowledge of history, modern China, and Western cultures, like especially you can speak multiple languages. What do you feel about the cultures that we are emerging nowadays?
Well, this is a different ballgame now because this is a global village nowadays, unlike in the past when the world is being segregated by so many different parts. Thanks to the digital age, the information superhighway, the world is becoming one. So here we have the emergence of a world culture, multi-ethnic, multicultural culture, and so this is a new thing. I mean, it's more like a garden with so many flowers in it. So each flower contributes to this beauty of the garden, and so I think for me, I am fascinated by this emergence of this world culture, and I think all cultures and all peoples must engage in mutual respect of one another, and also to try to get to know more better, to create more understanding among us in this global village.
Right. That reminds me of the book you recently wrote a couple years ago, The Modernizing China, Globalizing the World. That your key focus was on the culture exchange, focusing on bridging the world together. And what are your experiences? Maybe you can share a little to our viewers.
Yes, in fact, this has been my lifelong work, in terms of promoting Chinese culture in the Western world. And I think in the past 1.5 centuries, we talk about the Western world, Western culture impacting on China, on Asia. And I think it's about time in the 21st century that it goes both ways in terms of interacting. I think China is ready, the Chinese culture is ready to go into the Western world so that there will be a two-way traffic of interaction between the East and the West. So for me, I'm just a bridge. I'm trying to bridge one of those bridges. I'm not the only person doing that for sure. But at least I try my best to bridge that gap by going into the two worlds, giving talks, advocating for this kind of interactions, of exchanges of the two cultures.
Right. It is your goal for you have been doing this for years. It's your key focus, and you're trying to tell the world, all the cultures together, why it is important to the world that multicultures are emerging, and how we can do a little bit better in this world.